Hold up. So we go to Avernus really quick. I think I'm gonna make a like a very basic guide. I've seen a lot of things on YouTube for like newer players, but it's got a lot of what I see a lot is a ton of end game builds, a ton of people with like the best possible sets, like from Tower of the Mad Mage and all that good shit, like Lionheart set, and I don't even have that. So like, let me start out with why did it go to options? Let me start out with the fact that I don't even have that. Like, I'm only a 29k tank, so as you can tell, I don't even have the best end slot type shit or the best enchantments. I don't have rank 15s, nothing like that. I'm not a pay to win player, so I think I'm gonna base this off like a newer player guide. So none of my guide will expect you to have completed all of the shit that you need to be in this area. I think Avernus, like what I'm doing here in Avernus, is this is my area for farming treasure maps. Like when you want to go for your Legion Guard set, this is my best area for farming the maps. Like I've usually got 20 to 30 maps a day just right here in the beginning area. Like you don't need to go down here or to any of these corner of the maps. I usually just stay right here in the beginning, switch to my DPS, and fight all the mobs that are just usually in this area. But I feel like a lot of people never really give an idea of what to do after level 80. Like I've seen so many people put in chats, like when I'm in the Yawning Portal, what do they do after hitting level 80? And all of this will just be my opinion. I feel like it's just opinion based. If you see it differently, you can do whichever campaign you want to start with. But just for starters, before I get into this farming method, I feel like Undermountain will be the best campaign to complete. Like obviously because it's one of the newer ones, and there's nothing holding you back. There's no weekly or daily stops. So like you can just run through this campaign with a friend or solo. You can start with this one and you'll end up getting master expeditions, which will allow you to get your alabaster set, and your alabaster set will end up being, what is it, 980 I believe? Yeah, 980. So starting with your alabaster set is pretty good. Those will allow you to get that. When it comes to other campaigns you can do once you hit level 80, the easiest ones to get done, and these are just in my opinion, Acquisitions Incorporated is a little annoying, but it's fairly easy to grind through. It's not difficult. It's something you can pretty much do solo. Elemental Evil will be really easy. It just requires 4 different zones and doing quests in them, and then you work your way up to the boons. Lastly, let's see, the Maze Engine would be a very easy one, and it's only 60, so you can begin that at 60. That's not too difficult. Sharandar, Underdark, the Dread Ring is probably the easiest one. That one you can complete. And as you're doing that, you'll have weekly and daily stops. You will only be allowed to do so much in these, but then you could do 2 together if you enjoyed the story, or if you're looking for like a grindy game, you could, whenever it stops you from doing this every day, you could then turn and do some Sharandar. Cholt will be a little annoying. It's kind of difficult. Ravenloft's not too bad. It says recommended item level 14,000, but I kind of think it's around... It felt more to me like it's meant for like 18, maybe 18.5. So it's a little difficult, but not to the part of you can't solo it. All of those are pretty much soloable. The ones you want to save for last are things like Storm Kings until you're decently high, because these are way longer campaigns. Like, done by hand for me the first time around, these were just insanely long. I felt like Storm Kings took the longest, obviously. Icewind Dale was pretty treacherous. It took a long time to beat that one. Um, Mainly the ones you want to focus on just right off rip for a newer player, for somebody that just hit level 80, is Maze Engine, Sharandar, Underdark, Dreadring. You could do the Cloak Descendancy. I haven't even done that one myself. I've just been way too lazy. I have enough boons as is. Cholt would be alright if you can handle it. Ravenloft. Undermountain would be what I would do first, though, because they give you a set of decent gear to go through this campaign with. And then once you get up in the 20 and 21,000s, then you can start these two. And once you have Avernus unlocked, and you start to where you get this treasure map thing, there will be like I can't remember exactly what it is, but there's a treasure map quest which will allow you to start earning these. This is a decent place you can farm for these maps, and you stack. There's 10 total. There's 10 different types of maps, and there's a bunch of different videos on which ones you'll need, but I have a little strategy that's going to kind of outwork that. As of usually when you do, let me find what I'm looking for. Usually when you do your epics and your trial for the day, when you can handle them when you're at 16 and 20, there you'll earn these seals called Seals of the Fallen, and which will allow you to get what? These, the 1200 armors, when you can afford them. But if you come to Avernus and do your treasure maps instead, you'll be able to get 1225s. And so that pretty much negates the wait, and it takes a lot of the time down, and you can find these in the crate. As of, if you did Undermountain, when you do your Master Expeditions, you'll be able to get 980 weapons. That's your Alabaster set. But if you do the treasure maps, you can get your Legion Guard set, which in turn have also a pretty good bonus for anybody on the team. There's your bonus, and however many people have this, you can stack it up to 5. So all that is times 5, basically. So I'm going to show a little strat here in just a second for getting those for newer players, and none of my build requires anybody to be this far or have any type of crazy items like most of the people that post videos that say they're for newer players, but yet they have rank 15 enchantments. They got the best armor enchantments you can want. They have all the legendary mounts. Like, the builds they've made and try to dictate what newer players should do is just kind of ridiculous in my opinion. So I figured I'd break it down from somebody that's not all the way there just yet. And my main build on my tank, this is my main build, but when I switch to my DPS isn't even that great for this area. Like, I'm only 28,000 with only 357,000 hit points. So even in the beginning, I still struggle with this a little bit. But I figured I'd just show a method of mine that kind of helps to get some of these maps, and that car is annoying. So we'll see how long it takes to get one. Which I might mention that I also play with another friend of mine that's a little bit lower health right now. He's not at 25k or anything close to what he should be. He kind of struggles with some of these mobs as well. And another good thing about this place, this little beginning place, don't go out that door and just stay in here and farm the mobs that spawn. Even if you were to die as a DPS, the campfire is right up there. So obviously you can just come back and just keep wailing on these dudes until you get mad maps to drop. I think this place is a recommended 21,000, and I'm what? 28,000. There's my power, armor pen, critical strike. It's fairly high, but even this place still feels a little difficult at times, so I'd say around... I couldn't see why people at 20k couldn't handle it, especially if you had friends to play it with you, like if you weren't rocking solo. This place wouldn't be too difficult. There's one map already. See how long it takes to get another, a couple more. So what do we have so far? 1 tie. But mainly it kind of speaks for itself. It's a simple place to get maps. I think any DPS over 20k should be able to pretty much handle this place. See, it's a pretty basic area. Enemies aren't too bad as long as you got decent hit points. I'm thinking hit point wise, you need to be at least, I'd say close to 300,000. Because I feel like even at 362, there are times the mobs get me down a little bit. Before this update dropped and you could get the mount callers, my DPS was probably only close to 25k. I don't think it was all the way to 25k, but I think it was decently pretty close. And now that there's an extra like 2,000 to everything and a little bit extra that I've added, it seems like this area isn't so bad. But even at 24, 25k, the area was still pretty difficult. The mobs would get me down decently on health. Then when it comes to the campaigns, I've completed a giant majority of the campaigns. There's only 1 or 2 that I haven't really given a shit about, but you know, also the guild boons as well. The guild boons come in clutch, total of 500 item level, so they come in clutch. Being in a guild will help a lot, especially trying to be in this area. Let's go back through, because I feel like I kind of skipped through that awful quick. Just mainly focus, like right after level 80, required item level 9,000. Undermountain would be the one to absolutely go through, because there's no stopping you. There's no weekly or daily stoppage. It would be probably the best one to go through, especially since it grants Master Expeditions. It'll give you a set of decent weapons right off rip. Once you complete your Master Expeditions, you get 3 of those a day, and you can run with the team. There's people all over the Yawning Portal always looking for invites to those, or there's people that host them. All you got to do is just type in the chat, invite to ME times 3, and there you go. You know, there somebody will invite you. You'll be on a full team. They'll be easy to cut through. Just, yeah, go back and focus. Let me go back through this very calmly this time. Focus on things like the Maze Engine, Sharandar, Underdark, the Dread Ring, and then you can focus one of these, Jungles or Ravenloft. Save Storm Kings for later because it's huge. Icewind Dale as well. If you want to attempt Cloaked, go for it. It's a little annoying. It annoyed me, so I decided not to. But everything else I've done by hand. Every other single campaign I decided to do by hand just so I would know what it was all about. And the only one that really annoyed me was the Cloaked Ascendancy, and I decided, screw it. They have tokens to where you could buy the campaigns out, so I figured I'll save up enough and buy one off the auction house. Something about this campaign just annoyed me, but everything else, even Storm Kings, even the longest campaign in the game, in my opinion, I've done all the way by hand. And it was very long and annoying. So, Tyranny is a little annoying. It takes a while to complete that one. But just focus the smaller campaigns, the ones that... And Underdark pretty much completes itself. You get enough of the phaseries, or whatever the hell these are called, and it pretty much completes itself on the way up. The only thing you'll need at the end is something called On Madness. I can't remember exactly where you need that one. Is it that? Trail hunting tips. Maybe it is the final one. Yes, On Madness. You'll actually need to defeat Demogorgon for that. But with a pretty good team, it's not too bad to do. That's what you'll need for your final boon. Sharandar's not difficult. There's 3 different areas in it. Not very difficult at all. Once you get the hang of it, especially doing it once a week, you'll kind of just pick up on what the quests are and what to do. And speaking of which comes to advancements, there's going to be times where you can either... I don't know if... I can't remember because it's been so long since I've done them. If once you complete certain ones, if you'll be able to make a key, do the advancement, or make a boon. And in my opinion, this is just my own, I think it is better to do the advancements. I think when it comes to the advancements, you want to do those first and save the boons for later, because then you have more areas. Then you have more areas unlocked where you can earn more of the currencies that allow you to unlock most of these. And you'll earn a lot more by going this route first. Any campaign with advancements, like... what's another one with advancements? Something like that. You'll be able to... I actually skipped a lot of the main things that you could do. Granted, they do give you decent stuff out of the chest. In this campaign, I skipped them. I just decided to skip them and go strictly boons. But if I wanted to go back and re-get these now that the whole entire campaign is open, it wouldn't be that difficult to do. How dare you try to jump me when I'm not paying attention? I think that's just like a very basic guide to leveling up, like getting quick item level, getting finalized, like boons are just finalized upgrades no matter what. So once you have a full stack, they can never take that from you. Then it adds that much to that stat. So I think that's probably the way to go right off rip. Like, if you have time for campaigns, or if you enjoy the game well enough to complete them, you'll find a lot of benefit from doing that. I think the two newest campaigns, Descent into Avernus and Path of the Fallen, I think this is the better way to go. Trying to unlock Infernal Citadel first, because Zariel's challenge is so damn hard. It's so damn hard that I'm not even focused on unlocking it at the moment. Like, I'll complete the campaign, but it's going to be a long time before I get a chance at actually getting to try that one. So, just focusing on completing the majority of older content, because as like a more legacy type game, these have been around for a while. Like, the campaigns have been around for a while, and the two newest ones are going to be harder to get into. But once you complete a lot of the older ones, you'll stand more of a chance when you get to these areas. Because I feel like they're designed for having most of this already done, and everybody's just standing around waiting on these to come out. So that should help you a lot. And when it comes to... let me get to a safer spot so I can think. When it comes to things to get... I can't really recommend mounts. I was thinking about recommending some mounts to people. I guess I can recommend two, but I feel like it's kind of also really good for my tanking. I find that a lot of my friends like it, and I've mentioned it too when they ask me how am I so fast. Two of them that I run are the Gladiator's Guile bonus. It's also really good for tanking because it gives me my stamina back as a tank. And when your stamina's full, you move fast. When it's low, you get it back faster. Focusing on things like that. Mounts I can't really recommend. Companions, when it comes to getting your stats, all I know is augment is the way to go. Find an augment that is really based on what you play, whether it be DPS, healer, tank. It doesn't matter which one you play, there's an augment for you, obviously, and it gives you 3 stats mainly that are the equivalent of itself. Mine are hit points, deflect, and defense. I did this so that I can focus on more of my offensive stats and not have to worry so much about my defensive stats, because I like to switch back and forth between tank and DPS. This character has kind of the best of both worlds, and I've made a build to where I can comfortably switch back and forth. But I main tank most of the time, if that helps. Things to focus on. Once you get your MEs unlocked from completing the Undermountain campaign, when you run MEs, you have the chance of getting 10/10 drops for your companion equipment. And you want to find 3 that you really like stat-wise for whatever class you play. For instance, I can use mine, but mine are going to kind of throw people off a little bit. I have... mainly why I have these 3 is because it has 2 offense slots, an offense-defense slot, and then 1 all focused on defense slots. And it has 12,000 defense, so a really good defensive stat. 12,000 crits, so super good offense. And then it has a bonus of armor pen and awareness, so that's pretty decent for a tank, I think. That's kind of how I base mine. A majority of what's giving me a lot of stats, when you look at my companion stats, I don't have everything slotted that I would want to show, but it's decent enough that these 3 bonding runestones, they give you a ginormous portion of your companion stats. So everything that your companion has right there in the stat bar, these are giving you a big portion of that. And when you get these up high, these bonding runestones, your stats pretty much balance themselves out. And you use whatever else, like your insignias or your enchantments, to kind of balance the rest of it out. Everything has a cap, which you can Google. You can Google the stat caps for whichever mod that we're in, or you can just Google it for your character, whatever people think is best. There's a lot of things on Reddit, a lot of things you can Google with people talking all about it, each character, each class. It doesn't matter which one you play on whatever character. Like, so say you're a barbarian, if you're a tank and you're trying to find another barbarian tank to watch, there's plenty of them on YouTube. I'll always show my builds, each different mod. I'm always going to do a rundown of what I'm using and why. Like, power-wise, later on I might do a video on why I choose, for instance, Relentless Slash over Challenger Slash, and just kind of give it an idea of why I use what I use. Stat-wise, your stats will pretty much balance out depending on the companion you pick. Augmentation is definitely what you want to look for, and some of those are super expensive. Like if you're a DPS and you want a boulette pup, you're looking at a mill for it. You have to save up a good amount of astral diamonds or get lucky or buy your way to it, whatever people choose to do. Um, it's a pretty basic guide, I think. It's not too bad. But mainly, when it comes to items, you want to focus on bonding runestones is what I was always advised from players that are way better than me. Getting these runestones up was what pretty much balanced my stats out for me, like on the defense wise, and then I could just focus on my other stats when it came time. Picking good artifacts will really help depending on what class you play too. Like I have some offense based, some are defense based. Staff is probably my favorite when I'm tanking because I'm the center of attention on enemies, so I can just place this and get a shit ton of extra damage. My set for the on my DPS is still the Demon Lord set. I still like it due to the fact it has 10% additional damage based on difference in hit points. So I haven't found one that I like better than that yet. My friend has one that's a pretty good set that will allow more hit points, but I don't feel like the bonus is worth compared to this, at least for this character. He plays a ranger and he gets his super a lot more often than I do, and his set allows him to use his super and then deal 15% more damage to enemies that aren't facing him. So for a ranger, I could see that. For this character, it's kind of pointless. So I still run the Demon Lord set. On my tank build, I run, I don't even know what this one is. That shit, whatever you call that, I have no idea. So yeah, simple. Just a more defensive set, basically. So you just want to find a set for your character and choice, whether you're a DPS, healer, tank, it doesn't matter. There's a set out there for you. It just takes a little bit of research. So I'd start researching that on your way up. And those are just items you want to focus on, the things that are going to jump you up the most. By far, the things that are going to make the biggest difference, and at least in my opinion, are the bonding runestones. Focusing heavy on those will make a world of difference, and they'll make a world of difference early. The quicker you get those up, the more stats you're going to have in your ratings. So also putting your points into things, like putting your points into things correctly, like looking up a guide on where to go with your stat points when you get them. Like for a tank, I went stamina regen, physical damage boost, and maximum hit points and AP being action point gain. I was slotted for mod 17 and the beginning of 18. I was slotted into movement speed, but then I felt that I didn't need it anymore, so I just retrained and went just all constitution, just adding that little bit of action point and hit points. I felt like that did really well. So, and that's just the basics on my tank. On my DPS, I'm slotted the other way. Same thing, stamina regen, physical boost, and critical severity and movement speed. Critical severity just adds to that DPS. So, and my critical strike is insane. It's actually overcapped, but I don't really mind. So, 117,000 is not making me look bad. Is there anything else I can think of? Just picking a set, mainly when it comes to your nick, waste, and artifact. Focusing on the more minor campaigns is huge. And is there anything else I can think? Also, if you see, like if you ever get an invite to an Emmy or anything, one thing I learned a lot from is anytime I would get an invite to an Emmy or I would host one and another barbarian would come in, which is the character I play, I would always inspect them. I would just check them out, see what their stats look like, see what they're using, and see if I could break it down to why they're using this. Like, why would they use this enchantment over this one? see how it does when we do the run, and just kind of see how they do, and try to understand why they would use this over something that I think is better, or is it actually, or just sometimes I would know something is better than what I had, and I would go, okay, this is why they run this. And I haven't got to see a lot of other barbarian sentinels, which is the tank side, so it's kind of hard to say what is best for this one, but just what I have doesn't make it too difficult to get through things. Like, I don't find that I have any problems with health or anything like that. Even on my tank side, I still run a Vorpal enchantment. Just critical strikes come out, and it allows me to gen a lot more threats. So, a lot of things can be very helpful. It's just finding what suits you the best. Like, what helps you do what you need to do more. Like, if you feel like your criticals aren't good enough, but your critical strike's high, a Vorpal might be good for you, weapon enchant wise. It's looking around. It's just kind of shopping around to see, okay, what does this do, and what can benefit me, and how long will it take me to save up for it. Doing your daily queues are huge. But just showing this little area here in Avernus it'll allow you to skip a lot of that process of saving up for a lot of that 1200 armor, because you can just come to this little area, farm the maps, and then look up a YouTube video where it'll show, where these are. Like, it'll show the pictures and tell you where to go, and there you go. You just stack up. I have 3 of the same one, so if I go to that one crate, I'm going to be allowed to open 3 of the same one at this spot. So there's 3 chances of getting a decent piece of armor or getting the weapon set. You can get both weapons. They start out at green, or you can get the 1225 armors that you need. So then you won't have to save up and wait for just 1200 armor. You'll get to start with a decent set of armor. But you'll have to be at least 20k to be in this area. I think that's about it. I think that's like all I really wanted to break down, just campaign wise, where to go when shopping for new things to focus on at first, and an augment companion. I think that's a pretty decent basic breakdown.